Hey guys, this video is going to go over how to install Docker on a Debian Linux distribution or, for our instance, a server. So first, we're going to go ahead and go to terminal because we are going to use SSH to connect to the server. I'm going to type SSH, the user I want to remote into, and then the IP. I went ahead and put the IP as Tarleton server, and then the password. Notice how the password doesn't show up. That's a cool thing about Linux. Alright, so first I'm going to show you a few things. So NeoFetch. So this is the host name of the server, TCS Debian. Here is the OS, operating system. It's running on a Dell. It's been up for 5 days straight. Here's the amount of packages, the shell we're in, the resolution, and then we have the CPU, the GPU, and then the 8 gigs of memory. Alright, we are going to go ahead and go to Docker. And Docker has its own repository, so we'll have to follow their install. So, prerequisites, firewall limitations. I have not installed a different firewall other than IP tables on the server, so we don't have to worry about that. Now, OS requirements. So, Trixie, and then we also have Trixie here. So, it is compatible. So, before you can install Docker Engine, you need to install any conflicting packages. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this command that they have. Alright. Enter. Cool. So we didn't even have any conflicting packages, but I guess that was pretty good to run. Alright, installation methods. We're not a desktop because this is fully command line interface. Alright, set up Docker's apt repository. So I'm going to go ahead and set up like a dual thing here. We're going to do sudo apt get update. Alright, and then we're going to install these two packages here. I think I already have curl installed. Yeah, so we have both of those installed already. And then we're going to install. Awesome. Let me make sure I get this whole command here. More key rings. Alright. And then we're going to set permissions for those key rings. Awesome. And then next we're going to add the repository to the sources. So whenever we want to install Docker, whenever we write Docker without the repository, it would not know what to grab. So because we're adding a repository, we're adding Docker to our sources and we'll be able to download it. So let's go ahead and run that. Awesome. So it went ahead and added to our file. So now let's go ahead and run apt get update again. Awesome. And then we're going to install the packages. Tarleton Wi-Fi in the engineering building is pretty quick, so this shouldn't go too slow. And then next, we're going to enable Docker in the system settings. So every time the system boots, it should load the Docker. Alright, I went ahead and skipped the rest because it was mainly like a minute of waiting. So Docker is installed. So let's go ahead and check the status of Docker in the system. We can see that Docker is running and it is active. So just to make sure, I'm going to do systemctl enable Docker. Just so whenever we restart or reboot the system, Docker will automatically pop up, just so we don't have to start Docker. Alright. And then the first Docker image that we're going to run is hello world. So you'll see how Docker pulls this. Actually, I'll go ahead and just pull the image, just so you know how that works. So Docker pull, and then we're going to do hello world. So all this is going to do is grab hello world from the cloud, pull it, and throw it into our sources. So now we have hello world on our computer. That's the Docker container. Now all we need to do is just run the Docker container. So I'll go ahead and do Docker run, and then this will grab it from our computer. Hello from Docker. So it is working correctly, and that is how you install Docker. So all you have to do is pull some container off of the internet and throw it into Docker, and it should work. Something I like to do with all of my Docker environments is I like to go ahead and install Portainer. Portainer is an agent that makes Docker into a UI interface. guided user interface, sorry, and you'll be able to go ahead and run Docker containers, create Docker containers, pull them, all that type of stuff from a GUI. So I went to the Portainer documentation, and to install, we go ahead and create a volume in Docker for Portainer. Okay, so it's just mimicking Portainer data. This means it worked. And then let's go ahead and install the container, or that didn't grab. Enter. So it was unable to find it locally. So this is pulling the container like before, but since the internet's really fast, it's going to pull really fast. Alright, now we can make sure that Portainer is running. So let's go ahead and do docker ps. Alright, we can see that it was created, and the status is up. And then if we look under created, we can see 9443 to 9443 TCP protocol. So what this means is this is the host, so this is inside the container, and then this is outside the container. So these could be two different values. So for example, if both services have to be on port 80, which is just regular HTTP, then you could have multiple containers using the same 80 port, just make the external port different, which is a kind of cool thing about Docker. So this is running HTTPS because 443, and they just shoved a 9 in front. So let's go ahead and access that. So HTTPS // and then we're going to do Tarleton server, and then let's do 9443. Connection's not private, so it doesn't have a certificate, but we don't really care. Proceed. Alright, new Portainer, timed out. Please restart. Alright, so Docker restart Portainer. Alright, let's go ahead and reload. Alright, so let's go ahead and type an admin password. Must be 12 characters long. That's kind of crazy. Alright. Don't really care about that. Create user. Alright. So we can go ahead and disregard the PowerShell for now. It's going to make this full screen. So let's go ahead and get started. Now we have a local instance. So if we click Live Connect, we're going to get to our dashboard. So our dashboard is going to have the environment, which you can have multiple. It's going to have the URL, what GPU it's using, and then whatever tags you set, which we haven't done that yet. And then here are the images that we've pulled. Hello World from earlier, and then the Portainer image. See how Portainer is like a GUI of Docker? It's nice. I love it. So let's go back to local. Let's go to containers. So this is our Hello World instance that we started earlier. Hello World doesn't exactly keep running, it just exits because all it does is print. So if we want to, we can go to the logs. And then this is the log from earlier. And then, for example, this is something else that you can do on Docker. You can run, it's not a virtual machine per se, but you're running the same architecture in a containerized application. So for example, in this Debian server, you can run Ubuntu, you can run Kali, you can run Arch, but you cannot run Windows. If we were doing Docker on Windows, then we would be able to run Windows. It's kind of weird. But let's go back to containers. We can actually get rid of this one, since we're not going to use it again. And then we can also go to images, and delete this guy. Alright, so now after we deleted that, see how it says Docker Hub and Docker IO? So to get different images for Docker containers without creating your own, you can actually look online. So let's go ahead and go to Docker Hub. Let's click this first link. And then this is just a library of a bunch of Docker containers created by the community, businesses, all that type of stuff. So like here's the most pulled images. You can see Postgres, Alpine, Ubuntu, Python, Node.js, SQL, and there's tons and tons and tons of these. And there's just 6 pages of the most used. So that just kind of tells you that there's a bunch. So first, we're going to go ahead and just use Ubuntu. So let's scroll down, and then what's in this image? We see that latest points to the latest long-term and then rolling points to the latest release regardless of the status. So let's go ahead and use Ubuntu latest, just so we know that it's long-term and it's stable. Let's go back to Portainer. Let's go ahead and paste that in there to the image, and let's pull it. So this is pulling it like it did before. So now you can see it's unused, similar to how Hello World was before. Now we can go to Containers, Add Container, Ubuntu. Let's type in Ubuntu latest, because we already grabbed that. Alright, now let's scroll down to the container settings. So console, what I want is interactive, and then I want to enter in bin bash, /bin/bash. Let's go ahead and deploy it. Takes a quick second to deploy, and then there it is. It's running, everything's working. So let's go ahead and pull up our shell into our actual server. So this is our server, and now all we have to do is docker exec-it Ubuntu, the name of the container, and then let's enter at bin bash. Alright, so we are on a different computer now. So we're on the Ubuntu container inside of our server. So if I try to run neofetch, it's not going to work. Command not found. I just ran it up here. So this is a whole different computer. So if I run top, you can see there's nothing running because we just started it. Alright, and then to exit a container, just click exit. That's all you have to do. And like I said, there's tons of different containers on Docker. Basically, it's limitless. One that I love is N8N. This is a open source automation tool, and all you have to do is drag and drop, connect these little boxes, and then you can make it run every minute. You can make it run whenever a chat message is received on Discord, stuff like that. This is one of my favorite containers to run because it does a lot of the automation on my home lab. Alright, well, that was the tutorial over Docker and Portainer. If y'all have any questions, please reach out to me on Discord, email, or if I have your phone number, you can text me too. Either way works. But thank y'all for listening in, and I will see y'all on Friday, which is going to be 10/3, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, 10/3 for our Linux workshop. Alright, thank y'all.